Hey all, this is 012 Boku coming at you with another movie review. It's been another few weeks and it is time for that area again where I come at you with a movie review. And basically, I'm coming at you with once again the continuation of James Bond. I know it's been like this forever, but like I did say, I was going to collect all of the 20 original Bond films, and I have. So at this point, I'd say we're at the halfway through point, but we're still only halfway through. So, hey, bear with me if you guys want to see more and whatnot. But anyhow, it is now The Spy Who Loved Me. Yep, The Spy Who Loved Me. The third James Bond picture that Roger Moore has done, and one that he and many Bond creators do consider one of the best. I still believe it is a very good movie. For me personally, I do not put it within the best Bond category, but I really think that with Scaramanga, Dr. Kananga, and the stuff that happened after Blofeld was defeated, nothing against the Spectre villains, because I think Doctor No, Emilio Largo, Doctor No, Emilio Largo, Donald Grant, and all of them were really good, but I've got to say, why do you think made Goldfinger popular? Because we got away from the main villain sources and we went to a whole new villain from the book. And knowing how Goldfinger came so close to defeating Bond, that's why I think some of these later movies got really weird. Not weird, but they got good villains. Although there is comedic aspects in Lewis Gilbert's movies where they're not as bad. But with The Spy Who Loved Me, those comedic processes are there, but they're a bit more subtle when we get to Moonraker. Oh boy, yeah, Moonraker sort of really goes over the top. But like, hey, what can we say about Spy Who Loved Me? With that, we have once again Roger Moore coming into the role. He's once again way more comfortable, way more enjoying. I believe he really liked how Lewis Gilbert brought out the fun in Bond. Like, he really made it fun. He didn't make it as serious as some of the previous films were. Even though I think the Man with the Golden Gun and Live and Let Die were already pretty fun as well. Because, I mean, come on, Sheriff J.W. Pepper, how could you take a spy movie as serious with him in it, with him being this sort of like redneck sheriff who was always following Bond around for two films? So, I mean, there's that, but I know that's always up for debate. But I know Roger Moore liked it because, Lewis Gilbert made it fun. It was a bigger atmosphere. It was a larger than life presence. And for Bond in this one, where he falls in love with a Russian spy, which this sort of really isn't a spoiler because it sets up the main part of the plot as well for this movie. You see Bond kill. Bond kills a man called Sergei, who was in love, who was a henchman spy, who was in love with the female Russian agent who Bond works with in this movie. And, given the Cold War implications, this was big stuff at the time. And, she was Major Anya Amasimova. And, she wanted to get even and kill him for that, but she doesn't know throughout the whole film. And so it's the basis for that, plus it's stopping Stromberg, who wants to brutally create a world beneath the sea by inciting nuclear war to begin his new era. Which, once again, we'll go into that bit by bit with the other characters. which once again I believe that leads us to that leads us to Barbara Bach, who plays Major Anya Masimova, who is, I believe, their best top agent in Russia. And, she comes off like, I'd say she was a pretty good at being Bond's equal. Like, she definitely had the martial arts training. She definitely had the wit. She had a great level of intelligence. The same sex appeal as Bond does, and it it like really sits well with this movie that's there. And when you see that for this, you get the point that she really is good at what she does, and she enjoys what she does, and she's proud to serve her mother Russia, and that she's basically a side-by-side competitor for Bond. There's one part, spoiler if you don't want to hear the rest of it. Okay. So spoiler time is done. So spoiler time has started, I should say, and it's where they're being chased by one of Stromberg's men, and they're looking at his base underwater, and they come out with these man-made submarines, similar to Thunderball, and I think Live and Let Die, I think, and when we see them, Bond is using the regular gadgets to get away, but then when they're in trouble with one of the submarines or with them, Major Anya Masimova hits the one of the switches, does a oil ink screen in the water, then she releases a mine that goes on the ground, and basically when the submarine hovers over it, it explodes, killing the men chasing them, and then Bond's like, how did you know to do that? And she's like, oh, I stole the plans for this car 2 years ago. Sorry, I know that wasn't Russian, but I did a female British person. But, that's where, and, Bond is actually sort of turned on, and he actually likes that because it shows them as equals. So, Barbara Bach played that really well. We also have, I do believe, double checking here, yes, Kurt Jurgens as Stromberg, and Kurt Jurgens, another great villain. Like I loved how these villains, like the next two villains, or no, I should say personally, the next maybe you could say the next several villains. I'm not too sure. You probably can, but once again, another villain who plays his character with a looseness, which I like. Like, he's suave, dedicated, very intelligent, you know, crazy with his plan. Like I said, his plan was to steal Russian and American submarines using a huge tanker he has that's called the Leparis. And with the Leparis, he steals them, and he wants to use those ships with his own men inside to use nuclear bombs to start to destroy New York and Moscow. And like he says in the movie, within minutes, New York and Moscow will cease to exist. Global destruction shall follow, and the new era shall begin. And it's like he's exactly like that. Like, he's suave and vindicated, and like when Bond says, you're mad, you're not gonna go through with that. How much do you want? And Stromberg goes, how much? And it's like, how much for not letting go of those nuclear missiles? I think you misunderstand me, Mr. Bond. Civilization is already corrupt, weak, decadent. Inevitably, it's going further down the social economic line every year. Inevitably, it will destroy itself. And it's like, he has that way. And there's also, to add to that line, Anya Masimova says, that does not justify mass murder. And he goes, my dear lady, for what we say within mass murdering, for what I do, I will deal with posterity. So it's like, he's thinking for what he'll gain. He's like, for his journey to complete, he can be forgiven the millions of deaths of, Americans and Moscow lives. And it's like, wow, dude. Like, just wow. But I mean, it's because of that looseness that you can get into him, that you can like him, that you could say, I could be a villain that posh and likable. And Kurt Jurgens delivers it out of the park. I gotta say, he did a great job as the character. And coming up again here soon, we have another new character who I don't think we've seen. Oh yeah, and also for this movie here, I think I could show you guys him on the back. Yeah, I don't know if you see him there, but this guy here, that's Stromberg. That's Kurt Jurgens playing Stromberg. But we also have Richard Kiel, who plays Jaws. If you guys know the big tall guy with the metal teeth who bit people to kill them or brutalize them in whatever way he can, because he was one of the world's top assassins. And Richard Kiel, who was a big guy, but he'll inevitably say he's a big guy, but not very strong as films make him. But he's cemented as this great villain. He brought his own style of humor to it, which he wanted to do. The director didn't ask him to play the character like goofy or like have those funny moments, but it was in Richard Kiel's delivery who wanted to do that and who wanted to add a bit of comedy to the character, because he's like, I'm this big lumbering guy. Let's make me funny at certain points. And he delivers that too, but he also delivers why he's probably one of the best Bond henchmen, up there with like Mayday, Odd Job, and I believe a few others who were, recognized as. Oh, sorry, guys. Do not mean to yawn there. My apologies. Let's see. For this movie, too, as we continue on, we have got. Let's see. Because I know it's got another big cast, but I'll mention another goes on here. Oh, yes. We also have Naomi. Naomi, who is played by Carolyn Monroe, who has a short role in this movie, but Naomi is a secretary of Stromberg's, and she basically delivers Stromberg all his information and helps work with him, and she's the host for James Bond and Anya Maximova when they go aboard the Atlantis, base where Stromberg's at, where he holds his whole operations. And when they go there, Bond does his regular sensualism jokes and things like that. And Naomi carries herself with the cool and confidence that she probably got from Stromberg, and definitely sexy, definitely a virile character, but ultimately a villain. Like, there's a part, once again, spoiler, where Bond is starting to outrun. Similar, this goes into the part where they're in the water checking out the plans for the Lepar's tanker from Atlantis from underwater. But there's a part where they're being chased by a lot of the villains and henchmen, and Naomi is one of them in a helicopter trying to shoot them down. And when Bond sees her, he's like, it's you, and she's like, hey, I like, like, I find you cute and sexy, but I'm gonna still kill you. So, I thought that was an interesting way of doing it. And in a sense here, we have General Gogol, who represents the USSR or Russia at the time, where they work together with MI6 in England and Britain, and in some cases the people in America too, where he works with them, and he's like one of the first of reoccurring characters throughout the 80s films. And General Gogol is played by a Bond veteran who played one of the main Spectre agents in From Russia with Love, where he had a smaller role there, but he's bigger here. And Walter Gotell plays as General Gogol, the head of his USSR Russian division, giving Anya Maximova her orders, and she's exactly like, or he is exactly like M in every way. A bit more stern and really hugely a bit more complicated than M, but of course, that's the USSR and Russia at the time. Like, they spend, like, I'll tell you, when they're in these films together, Russia is like an ally or an unregistered ally where they're not official, but yet at the time, Russia is still playing like a villain throughout these movies because, it's like you can't show Russia because at the times as a huge ally, and but at the same time you don't want to completely vilify them to have a hateful audience out there. So they did that really well with General Gogol, making him on the level but yet making him a tough and stern character. The next character to be a returner in this one is oh yes, the Ministry of Defense. That is played by Jeffrey Keane, and Jeffrey Keane plays the Minister of Defense, and he's a guy where a bit timid, a bit paranoid, but yet he wants to protect the assets of England. He wants to protect the people of England. He doesn't want there to be danger, and he gives Bond a lot of his orders more than M does in this movie, and he sets the pace forward for Bond to go after the submarines. And I mean, he's just like a straightforward guy, by the books, by the numbers. But his heart is in the right place, and he does care about England. He just takes, when stuff goes wrong, even though things aren't completely finished, he just sort of takes like this angered backseat way, like any politician would if their government was supposed to stop somebody and they didn't. Anybody would be like that. And then I think there was one more of note here, because we have the regular cast. M is Bernard Maxwell, or Bernard Lee as M, Lois Maxwell's Moneypenny, Desmond Llewellyn as Q, all the regular folk. But you also have Shane Rimmer, who is in another returning role, again, because Shane Rimmer was in Diamonds Are Forever, where he played one of Willard White's associates. But this time he is the American submarine captain who gets captured along with Bond and Anya Masimova when they're looking for the Laparis. He gets captured with them, and he's sort of there near the end, trying to help Bond take down the Laparis, trying to help Bond take down Atlantis, trying to have Bond at the end of the movie, and all those different things. So, it's a very, very interesting relationship, and it's like you already can see how Captain Benson has a respect for Bond, and he has there's almost like a friendship kinship thing that grows there, and it's cool to see another actor get another stab at the Bond movies, because a lot of them say they love coming back to reprise their roles, and I guess Shane Rimmer was really no different. All in all, too, let's see, this movie is written by Christopher Wood and done by Richard Maybaum. I mean, they did pretty good writing for this movie, because there's really good action in it. There's really great spy moments in this movie where Bond takes on thugs like Jonder, or Jonder, however you want to say it, Jaws, other guys, where he's dealing with people trying to find a microfilm for the plans for the submarine tracking guidance system that was supposed to be a secret with all the submarines around the world, but apparently the plans got out, and Stromberg helped develop them and made it to capture the submarines himself to use for his nefarious plans. And Bond and Anya Masimova follow the trail of that throughout the film. And there's also the thing with trying to create a world beneath the sea with Stromberg and the nuclear bombs and once again the Cold War threat. So Christopher Wood and Richard Maybaum create a pretty good story, great action, a great character, and Carl Stromberg. I mean, I gotta say Carl Stromberg is up there on some of my favorite villains. And for the most part, they did a really good writing of the movie. It's really enjoyable. And Lewis Gilbert, for being a big guy who does huge battle sequences and moments, he's really good at doing that, because he did it well, and he only lived twice. And you know, he does it well in this film too, where the action is good, it's big, it's rigorous, tons of explosions if you guys like explosions, and you know, it's just, you know, he really has fun with the scripts and fun being the director, like, you know, putting things forward when you need to. So you got to give it up to Lewis Gilbert, who has a good, really nice slice of the pie for things for movies like this. Sorry about that, I had an alarm going off. But that's pretty much it with The Spy Who Loved Me, guys. I mean, what did you guys think? Do you like this movie? Does this movie stick out to you, speak to you, matter to you guys at all? Like what are your guys' thoughts on it? You know, like, do you like, once again, do you like Spy Who Loved Me and all that? So just let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit a thumbs up for the video. Let's make sure all notifications and things and all that go through for our work, whether free or, you know, we get paid for what we do, because once again, let's get YouTube back on track to where it should hopefully be. But, you know, until then, this is Owen to Boku. Oh, yeah, and I give, sorry, I forgot, I usually give my rating for these films, too. I give, The Spy Who Loved Me, I give it an 8 out of 10, because it's really good, it's really entertaining, and it's got, you know, good stuff to it. Not the greatest, but a good film nonetheless. But yeah, just drop me a line, guys. Leave me a comment, you know. But this is 01 Boku coming at you with another movie review. And I will see you guys later, alright? Talk to you then. Bye-bye.